In 1959, Karen Lehman became pregnant at a young age, and her life turned upside down. 15-year-old Karen was raised as a Catholic, and it was forbidden to be pregnant without being married. She had no idea that the story of her life would equal the content of a Hollywood blockbuster. Young Karen in 1959 didn't care. The moment she needed her parents the most, they did something that destroyed her life completely. It was something that would have every mother today tear up with grief. But before we start, smash the like button and make sure to subscribe if you haven't, and hit that notification bell so that you won't miss any new stories. It was a wonderful summer in 1959. Americans Dennis Viner and Karen Lehman attended Minnesota High School, and the first time they saw each other, they fell in love. The two teenagers, 17 and 15 years old at the time, respectively, were almost always together. They didn't know that their lives would soon be turned upside down. Dennis was a popular American football player, and Karen was an introverted clarinet player. Nobody understood how these two could have a relationship. Many girls were jealous of Karen and shut her out for that reason. Dennis's friends did not quite understand why he would always come late to football training because he was with Karen. It seemed that the couple would always stay together, but they didn't know what would happen in the coming months. A few months later, it appeared that Karen was pregnant, and everything changed. Being pregnant yet unmarried at the time was far from ideal. It was a big taboo, in fact. In addition, because her father wasn't rich and just had a job at an insurance company, he didn't want to pay for the expensive baby's livelihood. Karen's parents forced their daughter to do the impossible. Dennis proposed marriage immediately, since he knew she would not be able to have the baby while unmarried. This was not accepted by her parents, however. Karen's father forbade the young man to come by their house. To make it even more difficult, Karen was sent away to another state. Karen was sent to a school for pregnant women and younger mothers. Karen had a hard time here. She had no girlfriends, poor prospects with the baby, and she missed her childhood sweetheart. Dennis did send letters to her, but they were not passed on by the house staff. 6 months after they had said their goodbyes, her parents and Dennis were allowed to come and support her during the birth of her daughter. Karen named her Denise after Dennis. They were all allowed to hold the baby for a moment. Then, the little one was separated from Karen immediately. She was not allowed to see her daughter anymore, and this was not the only thing her parents took away from her. After the birth of their child, Karen and Dennis kept in touch, even though her parents did not want that. Despite, or perhaps because of, all they had been through together, they grew very fond of each other again. Dennis asked her again to marry him. She was overjoyed, but when she told the news at home, her parents still disapproved. Her dream was to continue her studies past high school, and her father would not help finance those studies if she agreed to marry Dennis. The couple grew apart again. Both went their own ways. Dennis served his country in the army, and Karen went to a university, where she studied interior design. Dennis continued to send Karen letters, but they never reached her because her father intercepted them. Both Karen and Dennis thought they had forgotten about one another. After Dennis returned home, he decided to carry on with his life. He met another woman and married shortly afterward. Karen had married as well and had a busy career as an interior designer. Decades without contact passed, during which both would lead a happy life. But they never forgot about each other. More than 50 years later, a friend of Dennis invited him to create a LinkedIn account. The first thing he tried after doing so was to find his childhood sweetheart. There she was, third from the top, Dennis said. I clapped my hands and shouted, "That's my girl!" He doubted for a while about what to do next, but he ultimately decided to send her a message, not knowing if Karen wanted to respond to him after 50 years. Karen immediately responded to the message that Dennis had sent her. The spark was still there. Karen had become a widow, while Dennis was single and divorced. This first contact after 50 years resulted in an ongoing digital relationship between the two childhood sweethearts, who both lived in different states at the time. An in-person meeting was inevitable, and after 3 months, Dennis flew to Washington to finally take Karen into his arms again. He knew that he wanted to share the rest of his life with his childhood sweetheart. After 2 days, he asked to marry her for the 3rd time. They got married soon afterward and moved back to their home state, Minnesota, together. But still, something was missing in their lives. The only thing missing was their daughter, whom they had only been allowed to hold for a short while 50 years ago. Karen never dared to make contact, as she was afraid that her daughter would be angry. But Dennis wanted to find out how their daughter was doing. He called the adoption agency and soon had good news. Their daughter, who now had the name John Voxland, was 54 years old and the mother of 3 children. When she heard about Dennis reaching out, she hesitated to contact Karen. John Voxland grew up with a loving family in the state of Minnesota. She had several brothers and sisters, with whom she had a good relationship. All her life, she'd had questions about who her parents could be, but she doubted whether she wanted to have them answered. At the age of 22, she married Andrew Voxland. They had 3 children, who in turn gave her beautiful grandchildren. It was a large and close family who saw each other several times a week and always ate at Jean's house on Sundays. Dennis and Karen knew the address of their daughter and decided to send a letter to her, along with some photos. It would turn the trio's life upside down entirely. With tears in her eyes, Jean read the letter. She then organized a meeting between her and her biological parents. The adoption agency organized a day in the park in Minnesota. The moment that all 3 of them had been secretly looking forward to for decades had finally arrived. When they saw each other, none of them could hold back their emotions. John was unable to find any words when she first met her biological parents. But this day was not the only thing John wanted to experience with her real parents, as she had a surprise for them. She had wanted to introduce her whole family to her parents, so she organized a family day. The children of Karen and Dennis were also present, making it a happy but busy day. The entire family was complete again, and Karen and Dennis had never been so happy. Ever since their reunion, they now see each other regularly. Jean has opened her life to her parents, and Karen and Dennis are happy that Jean had a beautiful childhood with her adoptive parents. Their lives have changed completely. They are invited to talk shows on a regular basis to share their special story. But that is not all. Andrew came up with the idea to record their special life story and write and publish a book together. That is why in 2017, the book, How Did You Find Me? After All These Years, Xerania was released. Many copies of the book have already been sold, and it can help adoptive children understand and accept why they have been given away for adoption. They are now a big, happy family. Jean not only acquired new brothers and sisters, Dennis and Karen also got new grandchildren, and even some great-grandchildren. After 50 years, 3 marriage proposals, and 2 other loves, Dennis and Karen are finally together and are overjoyed.